top 5 National Signing Day flips to this point. Again, Cormani McLean Garrett could flip to Colorado from Miami.
Yeah.
He had already changed from Florida to Miami, and he could flip from Miami to Colorado.
I'm about 95% certain that's going to happen.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that, like, if he was going to sign with Miami, he would just gone to Miami.
Wouldn't send his mom out there to send a note.
Yeah, exactly. That's what he did. So she sent a tweet today. He's out there. There's a couple others, but like as far as like the big, heavy 4-star or class-changing flips, I could just do this whole list on Oregon, by the way, because that's just apparently what their strategy is to let everybody else do the work and then swoop in at the last second and be like, hey, you want to go to Oregon? We have Nike. You know, I don't know. And I don't know how much Nike is involved in that part of it. I'm sure it has to be some, but, you know, I don't know. We'll see. Yeah, well, of course, we'll never know, Craig. There's nobody that has to tell us.
No. I mean, we can speculate all we want to on, you know, whatever, accuse people of whatever, but, I mean, it's you know, not ever going to be substantiated. So Jeff Traylor's comments are timely, but, you know, unless he's calling out who he's talking about, it doesn't really change anything because everybody knows what's going on. And, Oregon's a great brand, and I'm sure, you know, Phil Knight somehow or another had, you know, or something, some extension of Phil Knight had some effect on, you know, their NIL game and subsequently their class, but that's all legal and fair. So, yeah, congrats to the Ducks.
Yeah. But number 5, Keldric Faulk flipped from Florida State to Auburn. This is not because it's Florida State, but at the time this was the big one. In Auburn, they had an Oregon-type day, but to a bit of a lower level. And they did not start out, obviously, in the recruiting cycle doing really well. Hugh Freeze has been on the job less than 2 full weeks and has really started to close out well and started by flipping guys that are from that region. This kid's from Georgia, like just a stone's throw from Auburn, went and got him. It's a big get for a team in Auburn that, you know, before their recruiting class, and Gary, you know this, was not really, they were very middle of the pack.
Pretty average, yeah.
And they're very average. Now they're up in the top, you know, 20, I guess, since Hugh Freeze got there. And this is one of the kids that got, and the reason I put him on here is he literally flipped this morning. I mean, he was, you know, everybody thought he was going to Tallahassee until today, and then he's on his way to the Plains. So that's a big one there. Number 4, one that Craig talked about at length this morning, and we talked about a lot, Austin Novosad from Baylor to Oregon. This one, Craig, in the overall, you know, nobody knows how good he's going to be at Oregon, and nobody knows how good he was going to be at Baylor. But for Baylor in particular, this just puts a big bullet hole in their class because they don't have option B yet. And there's certainly time with the transfer portal and another signing day coming up, but particularly at the quarterback position, because of early enrollees, this is the day you want to get your quarterback in, and plan B is they don't know right now.
Yeah, I can't wait to not talk about him after today because, man, just a lot of time, and that's not a knock on him being on here. He deserves to be on here. I think I've said my piece on Austin Novosad today since, you know, like 8 a.m. We've been talking about him and that flip. I'll say what I said earlier in the day. I think this is a bigger loss for Baylor than it is a win for Oregon. Mm-hmm. So in terms of flips, like if you're saying like most, you know, debilitating or something, I think he'd be more apt there because he's a big get for Oregon, but honestly, like he wasn't even the biggest get they got today.
Yeah.
So, you know, I mean, in terms of flips, it was a big one, but I mean, I think for Oregon with all that's going on there, like he's just another guy in a group of guys that they were able to land today. It's a good one. I don't think that they're like, oh, he's some average Joe or anything. I just like, there's a lot of focus on one side on this one particular guy that was lost. And then on the other side, there's just like this whole accumulation of new faces that they're all just excited about. So, I mean, it's a good get for them, one of many on the day for the Ducks. And, it leaves Baylor in the lurch, and they'll have to figure their way out of it. That's what happens when you go all in on one guy and let him know that he's the guy, and he decides to change his mind late in the game. That's just part of the deal.
Number 3, Peyton Bowen flipped from Notre Dame to Oregon with also a push in there from Oklahoma. Just saw a tweet that he has not sent in his letter yet, but this would, I mean, of course, and if this changes, then we can take him off the list. But this was the biggest one that you talked about. You know, like the bigger. This is one bigger for Oregon than Novosad would be because he's a higher rated prospect.
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, it would be. I don't know like their depth chart there as opposed to quarterback where I know they've already got some guys, and that's why the Novosad thing isn't as pressing as it was in theory for Baylor, just having the one scholarship quarterback heading into tomorrow night's bowl game and heading into next spring as it stands right now. But yeah, I mean, this is one that I don't think is official just yet. So it looks like he's probably still going to sign with Oregon, but I do think that that's temporarily delayed or something. I can't really tell outside of just a couple tweets that I saw that he wasn't signing as of yet. So we'll see. I'd assume, given all their success today, he probably ends up at Oregon like everybody else seemingly has, and another really good get for the Ducks. Yeah, on a big day for them and a tough loss for Notre Dame for sure.
Number 2, Ruben Owens going to Texas A&M from Louisville, and we just had Owen Buchanan on a little less than an hour ago talking about this, and it just always kind of felt that this was going to happen, and then when Scott Satterfield left, it kind of gave them, like he said, that kind of gave the family the opening to go, okay, well, this is the time to do this now. But you know, he's from El Campo. It's a town full of Aggies. It's a farming town. It would have felt kind of silly had a 5-star guy from El Campo, Texas, not gone to the farmer university, you know, that yells out farmers fight during the game. And it just seemed like, you know, fait accompli with him. But this is huge for the Aggies coming off a year where they lose, back-to-back years where they lost Isaiah Spiller last year. They're losing Devin Achane this year. They need to, replant the garden there at running back, and Ruben Owens is I don't know if he's the most sought after running back in the nation, but he's pretty close. He's in the top 3 of that very position.
Yeah, some argue Cedric Baxter, whoever else you want to throw in there as far as the top running back goes. But yeah, this was a big get for them. Took advantage of the coaching change up at Louisville, and just a good get for Jimbo Fisher and company. And in this era, like your previous season, just doesn't even really seem to matter. Mm-hmm. It's just what you can go do in the portal and with NIL and with your signing days. And A&M certainly not letting a disappointing year hinder them in any way. And, this is a good one to keep close to home.
Yep. And number 1, Kadyn Proctor goes from Iowa to Alabama. And, you mentioned it yesterday, Craig. I mean, Iowa had this guy forever. He's from Des Moines. They think, okay, this is the best player. This is one of the highest rated players to come out of that state in maybe 20 years out of Iowa. Just about how many people wanted him, and they were going to be able to keep him home. And then the day before signing day, the big bad wolf, Alabama, comes in and just flips him like that. And it's not a shock that Alabama can come in and flip anybody, but it does have to feel, like watching your kitty die if you're Iowa. I mean, after all that work they put in, and here's Alabama just coming and going, hey, so you want to come here? And then, yeah, sure, it's Alabama. Why not? You only live once.
Yeah, going back to Oregon for a second, I guess today they landed 5-star Mateo Uiagalelei, 5-star Peyton Bowen, which was a flip, 4-star Austin Novosad, which was a flip, 4-star Dalen Austin was a flip, 4-star Jaden Lamar is a flip, and now I think they're adding some offensive linemen from Rhode Island as well. I didn't quite catch the names, just scrolling there.
Was that the transfer?
I don't know. Yeah. I don't even know who you're referring to, honestly. Yeah. So, it may be Johnny Cornelius,
yes.
I think.
Yeah, he's a big-time transfer.
Yeah, so they just landed him as well. So there's some more breaking news for Oregon on a very big day for the Ducks. And, who were we just talking about?
We're talking about Kadyn Porter.
Kadyn.
Or Proctor. Sorry, Proctor.
That's, a big-time offensive lineman. And Alabama flipping a guy and getting him on National Signing Days, time-honored tradition in so many ways. So that's not a grand surprise. And at least they got a little bit of a heads up, I guess, yesterday. Not that they, could go get another big, time offensive lineman there for the Hawkeyes to replace him. But I'm sure they'll be on the lookout now. And great get for Alabama, who, is still Alabama, but it doesn't feel like they really have like that grand momentum that they typically would. Like some of that shine's gone elsewhere now, and some of that shine's being shown on Oregon right now or on Georgia right now or on whoever, but it's still Bama. They're still going to get their fair share of dogs, and they definitely got one in the big-time offensive line prospect in Proctor.
All right, that's going to do it for us, Craig.